Well, it's here. The LUMIX GH6 finally was officially announced. If you're new here, my name is Caleb and I do freelance video with the Panasonic GH5 and hopefully with the GH6 soon. If you want to know more about making videos with the GH5, hopefully with the GH6, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I sat down with my friend Luke in his studio, and he's a GH5 video shooter who, like a lot of us, have been patiently, maybe not so patiently, been waiting for the Panasonic GH6. We talked about what we know about the GH6, what we assume the GH6 will have as far as specs go, and one major thing that could be make or break for the Panasonic GH6. So sit back, enjoy this conversation, and let me know in the comments your thoughts on the LUMIX GH6. So, Luke, thanks for being in my video, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And this is your studio. So we're in your studio. It's loaded with GH5s.
Yep.
So you're a GH5 shooter.
Yep. Got three GH5s, 1S.
All right.
Yep.
Why do you like the GH5?
Honestly, it was the thing I was trained on. So it was the easiest platform for me. But I think what I've really loved about it is, that it feels like a handheld camera.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a handheld camera.
Yeah.
It's got a nice screen. It allows me to really take it outside and literally just shoot camera only, but then plug it into a rig and do anything I need to do in studio.
Yeah,
so
right on.
For me, it's the sheer volume of advanced features that it has for a small and honestly as affordable of a camera that it really is.
Yeah, it's great. The hybrid versatility of it. Is amazing. Now, you've been waiting for the GH6.
Very much so, yes.
We've all been waiting for the GH6. So we finally have a release date for the GH6. We've been waiting for it. Now, there's one major talking point with the GH6. That's the autofocus.
Yes.
We have to address it.
Yep.
We have to address the autofocus. That's probably the main reason so many people are going to be watching the release video from LUMIX is because they want to see what the autofocus is going to do. Now, we don't have any details on that. We know it has a new Micro Four Thirds processor. It has a new sensor.
Yep.
The possibility of having that phase detect autofocus on there is a pretty good possibility. Do you have any thoughts?
I feel like it's make or break for me. I mean, honestly, I've been looking at potentially even moving to Canon. Could be C70, C200. I've looked at the Zcam E2 with the F6 now. It looks really nice, Super 35. But again, like the reason for me to stay in GH6 world would be I have everything built around this platform. Yeah,
you're like fully set up for it.
So like it would be really just plug and play for me to bring the GH6 into what I already have. But also like, moving to like a Zcam or something, no screen on it, and I'd have to rely on Ninja V or something to have a viewfinder. So like, I love what the GH6 could be, but it has to have autofocus.
Has to have autofocus. Now they have been making some improvements with their DFD autofocus.
Sure. Like in the Mark II was in
the Mark
slight
II,
improvement.
It's pretty good. However, you shoot a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
Using that autofocus, there's so much pulsing in the background. Still. Even with all the improvements. Yes, they're improving it. New sensor, new processor. But I feel like they have to go phase detect on that autofocus.
Like I did a live event with like 5 people in the room. And we used EOS R Canon. To be the A cam essentially and swing that thing around to capture different people talking, just because we needed to have something with a decently responsive autofocus.
I bet that made life so much easier.
So I mean, like really, it is make or break. Like if they don't have that, I probably won't buy the GH6.
Interesting. Yeah. So the major talking point is going to be autofocus, but we know some of the specs for sure already that have been announced on the GH6, and the first one is going to be that 5.7K 422. So it's going to have that, but it's also going to have that 4K 120 at a high frame rate version and a variable frame rate version, which is going to be nice to have that option. Right now on the GH5, it's limited. It's the HD 120 variable frame rate. Yeah. So,
and honestly, like that is another breaker for me, or at least step up for me would be I'm pretty much shooting everything in 4K. And I'm stopping at that 60 frame per second.
Right.
So I'm not able to make that next jump to that super smooth 120
Yeah.
without dropping down to 1080.
That's going to be a nice option to have. One of the other options is going to have that DCI, basically Cinema 4K 10-bit,
Yep.
422 unlimited recording.
Yep.
So if you want that Cinema 4K option, unlimited recording, you have that on the GH6. Now, I already mentioned the new processor, Micro Four Thirds processor, but also the new sensor that's going to be, which I believe is a Sony sensor that's on there. And from the picture that we have, it looks like it's going to be a little bit more of that boxier camera body style.
Like the S1H or 5S.
Exactly. The
5S?
S5.
S5, yep.
Now, right here on the table, we have a GH5S. And, I mean, you're familiar with the GH5. It's the body style. We're familiar with that. So having a little bit different body style is going to be different accessories.
Sure.
Like new cage, new fitting, that type of thing. So there's also a lot that we don't know about the GH6, but can we go so far to say that we assume that some of these things are going to be on there? I have a list. I don't know if you have a list, but on my list, things that I assume is going to be on this GH6 is going to be dual native ISO.
Yep. Now,
the GH5S has the dual native ISO, which is nice for some of those low light settings.
Yep.
I say this all the time on the channel. The GH5 is not fantastic in low light situations.
Yep.
It's usable in most situations, but having that dual native ISO is going to be really helpful.
Yep.
Do you have something on your list?
I mean, that honestly was my first one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a studio shooter primarily, which low light is not as much of an issue.
Right.
But as you go handheld or run and gun, like that's a huge blow to the GH5, I think.
Absolutely. The other thing that I have is the external RAW recording.
Yep.
So like being able to, I mean, having internal RAW recording, that would be amazing.
Really nice. Yep.
I don't know like how often I would use it. There'd definitely be situations where I would use it, but having an external RAW recording option, I think is almost a must have.
Yeah. I mean, everybody else is doing it. Like, again, of the ones that I've listed, those are both options on those models. And if they don't do it,
it is tempting to look at other things, other cameras, if the GH6 does not blow us out of the water.
Correct.
All right. So another thing that I have on my list is, so the GH5 Mark II has 6.5 stops IBIS.
Yep.
The GH5 has 5 stops IBIS. I think on the GH6, it has to be 6.5 or even more, if that's a possibility, stops of IBIS. I don't know if they can go higher on some of those things, but at least 6.5 on the IBIS. I know personally I do a lot of handheld, and using the GH5 Mark II handheld, it was almost like being on a gimbal.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's just a gimbal look.
Sure.
That's just so smooth.
Yep.
But this was a very natural movement in some of the images. So, I mean, I think that's a must have, especially for GH5 shooters. Most of us are hybrid run and gun.
That's really why
shooters.
people, I think, go to the GH5.
Absolutely. So one of the questions I have for everyone, but Luke, I have for you as well, is, let's phrase it like this. If it doesn't have these things, ... then what's the point? So what are some what are some non-negotiables for you?
Yep.
With the GH6?
Got to be autofocus.
Okay.
Number one for me.
Yep.
The sensor has to be as good as they say it's going to be, especially in the Micro Four Thirds world.
Yeah.
It's got to be there.
Yep.
Third would probably be the dual native ISO, at least better low light shooting.
Yep.
If I'm going to stay with the kind of handheld features that drew me to GH5, GH6 has to have it. And maybe not a make or break would be the raw shooting. Just to be able to have that flexibility would separate me getting that versus something else.
Yeah. I have some of the same things that you have on your list of non-negotiables. Like, I keep saying this and I sound like a broken record, but if the GH6 doesn't blow us away, then what's the point?
No point.
I mean, it'd be dead, really, I think. So, the full frame movement is alive and well.
Yeah.
So many great cameras that you can get that are full frame, have shoot specs, record quality that's through the roof. You have those Canons, you have the Sonys that are amazing cameras. The GH5 was way ahead of its time when it first came out. Other cameras have caught up. Micro Four Thirds has kind of been, going along the wayside. Full frame options are alive and well at full strength. If the GH6 doesn't blow us away, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, that's the GH6.
Yep.
We'll see what it brings.
Do you have a countdown? Are you doing a countdown?
I don't have a countdown going. No.
You probably should.
I
have one.
I set a reminder for the live stream.
Yep.
And there might be like another viewing group that I might be a part of. But I do have the reminder set. I don't have a countdown though.
Yep.
I don't have a
It's
countdown.
coming.
It's coming. Well, I mean, that's really all we have for this video. There's only so much that we can talk about with the GH6 without actually knowing what the GH6 is going to bring. So let me ask you guys as well, what are some deal breakers for you? What are some deal breakers for you with the GH6? Do you think it is something that you're going to pursue, that you're going to hit that pre-order button or whatever button it is to purchase that GH6? Are you going to do that? Luke, it's been good having you on here.
Thanks for having me on the vid.
And if you have time, it'd be awesome if you stuck around. Maybe watch one of these videos that's popping up on your screen right on these corners. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Okay?
You know what to do that?
No.